For the past few years, my friends and I have been able to find a loophole in a certain cinematic theatrical chain conglomerate, which has allowed us to get 3 tickets for the price of 1. And unfortunately, that came to a close one Saturday in July 2021. It was a very tragic ending because it meant I ended up paying 3 full-price tickets to see one of the shittiest excuses for an action movie that Hollywood could put out.
Ho 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 ho! Delightfully devilish, Seymour.
Yes, everybody, welcome back to Delightfully Devilish, the show where we discuss films that all at once meet the criteria of being the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't know what that was. I am your host, Jukebox Harry, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the final insults I am ever taking from Hollywood action cinema. Snake Eyes: G.I. Joe Origins is a 2021 action thriller directed by Robert Schwenke, who, despite directing the Golden Globe for Best Picture nominated film Red, also went on to direct Allegiant, Insurgent, and R.I.P.D. And sadly, this movie was not a return to form for him. I never gave a damn about G.I. Joe. I never played with the action figures growing up. The only exposure I had to the cartoon was to the dubbed versions of the public service announcements which circulated the internet in the years before YouTube. And admittedly, I did see the 2 live-action G.I. Joe films, but I can't remember a single line of dialogue from either of them. I just remember some really bad CGI and some very unimpressive performances. So I didn't really give a shit going in to see Snake Eyes: G.I. Joe Origins about the roots of it. The sole reason I went to see it was because the trailer made it look like there was gonna be some good action sequences in it. Coupled with the fact that they also cast Samara Weaving and Iko Uwais in the movie, I figured this could actually be just a decent action guilty pleasure. It was so far in the other direction that I just need to jump into this review. Snake Eyes: G.I. Joe Origins begins 20 years ago, from no specific year or day, just 20 years ago. You could be watching this movie in 40 years, I hope not, but if you are, this movie could be taking place 20 years ago from then, which would be 20 years ahead from now. Yeah.
We need to leave. Right now.
Dad, what's happening?
Oh, well, you see, it's called a conventional action movie setup, son. You witnessed your own father getting killed, which gives you a sense of retribution, which leads you on a path of revenge later in life and teaches you moral lessons.
Here is how I make decisions.
Focus!
When you live, lose, you die.
Now please, enlighten me. Who the fuck are you?
How do you win? What are you meant to roll? And who are either of you?
That is a good question. And Scotty?
No, that's too bad. Snake Eyes.
He said it! He said it!
No!
After escaping his father's murderers with surprising ease, we cut to the present day where the kid is now in a cage fight. But something is eerily wrong. On top of having some rough lighting, this action scene is a display of one toxic ingredient. When the first action scene in a film is a terrible display of shaky cam, that is a terrible sign. I have spoken extensively about just how much I hate excessive shaky cam in action movies before, but I was at this point willing to give the film the benefit of the doubt. The trailer had promised good action, and Robert Schwenke has in fact delivered that before. So watching this scene, I had to hope against hope that it was going to be a one-off and not leading into another film which depicted the cinematic equivalent of Parkinson's disease.
They call you Snake Eyes, and yet you always win.
There it is! There it is!
My name is Kenta Takamura, and I could use a man like you.
Ain't nothing personal, but I don't work for guys like you. Or anyone for that matter.
You really could have opened with the latter half of that statement and then left it there, but whatever, you do you, bro.
You are a drifter. You fight until no one will bet against you anymore, and then move on.
Works for me.
They said you watched your old man get killed when you were just a boy.
Sorry, but was the entirety of your character description just labeled exposition? He promises our hero the chance to find his father's killer if he comes and works for him, smuggling illicit goods inside gutted fish for the Yakuza.
Knife goes in, guts come out. Knife goes in, guts come out.
The group has discovered that there is a spy in their midst by the name of Tomi Arishikage. Mr. Exposition challenges our hero to execute him, but he can't bring himself to do it. This launches the film into its second action scene, and if you thought the shaky cam was bad the first time, the discombobulation in the second round is just sickening. In my review of Suicide Squad, I talked about a moment in a movie which I call the event horizon moment. The point of no return, where you just know everything after this is going to be a very thoroughly fucking disappointing movie. With Suicide Squad, it was the emotionally devoid reveal of Joker, who is possibly the greatest villain in storytelling history. A character whose reveal always has to be grand and shocking, just plonked onto the screen in a hastily edited flashback. In Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, it was when Oscar Isaac said this line.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
And with Terminator Dark Fate, it was when franchise hero John Connor is killed off to make way for a reboot franchise with a new hero and a huge fuck you to dedicated fans. Although at least with Terminator Dark Fate, if you pretend against all the willpower in your brain that it's a Terminator fan film, it does have some strong performances and great action scenes to actually make it some kind of an entertaining movie. Unfortunately, with Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, it's Willy's Wonderland all over again. With both films, there was a moment when I realized I was stuck inside a cinema with a movie I paid to show me exactly how not to craft an action scene. And look, so we can get on with the review of this film. I'm going to have to save my rant about shaky cam for later, but just know that every time an action scene came on in this film, I was dreading it. In an action movie. After an extended fight scene where solid choreography has been buried beneath incomprehensible camera work, rough cuts, and so many characters that end up overloading the frame, then we get a sword fight, which the film immediately cuts away from so that we don't even get to watch it. Instead, we get another equally shaky fight, followed by an excessive number of swords being stuck into a truck before the police show up. Of course, instead of showing us how our heroes actually escape, we just cut to an extended period of time later. So, somehow our heroes just escaped the police and the protagonist passed out from his injuries.
You're his enemy now too. Which means your fish boy life in LA is over.
What is it exactly you do?
A little of this, a little of that.
I find that answer vague and unconvincing.
Your wife?
No.
Girlfriend? Sister?
Akiko is our chief of security. We value her advice, but we don't have to take it.
Oh, great! Casual misogyny in an action movie marketed towards kids. Those are great values to instill in them.
I present the leader of the clan, Arashikage, Sen, my grandmother.
The man who saved my grandson's life. We Arashikage are in your debt, which means Japan is in your debt.
What, the whole country?
I want you to join us. Join the Arashikage. The 3 challenges are designed to reveal an applicant's character. The first 2 will cleanse you of ego, anger, and fear, and ready you for the 3rd.
What if I fail?
You die.
The stakes have never been higher.
Yeah, we're really going to pretend that a guy who had the speed and tenacity to fight off an entire gang with his bare hands now has a delayed reaction when everyone else is ducking around him.
He was working for the Yakuza, for God's sake.
He's not one of them.
That doesn't make him one of us.
My name is Tomisaburo Arashikage. You think I would endanger this clan? I am this clan.
I am the Senate.
I wasn't questioning your loyalty.
Just my judgment.
So questioning her judgment is fine, but questioning your judgment when it's a very valid question, that's where you draw the line?
Ha! The ironing is delicious.
80% of candidates fail the first challenge.
Well, that means 20% pass, Akiko.
Oh, you can count. Good for you.
For 600 years, our fighters have been trained by the greatest warriors the world has ever known. Hard Master.
Oh, shit, buddy.
Any questions?
Yeah, when's lunch?
Take this ball from me. I'll take that ball from you.
You must take my ball without spilling any water.
Fail 4 times.
And your training is over before it begins.
When Snake Eyes has to fight legendary martial artist Iko Uwais, in comes the second major sin of awful action movies. The quick cuts! If you thought this was going to be like The Raid, where we saw the man fight off legions of men with brilliant martial arts choreography and perfectly steady long takes, you are as mistaken as the studios that keep on giving work to Robert Schwenke. By constantly cutting away to angles that never seem to flow with the previous one, Snake Eyes actively tries to butcher the action every conceivable way it can.
I humbly request that you accept my ball in exchange for yours.
There is a positive sentiment here about using non-violence to resolve a conflict, but I'm sorry, there is just zero chance that this film can pull my head out of the flurry of awful action scenes it's thrown at me. Later, Snake Eyes rides off on a motorcycle to a Japanese bathhouse. I was half expecting him to go inside in search of a man with a paw who owed money to Tommy. I've definitely seen Tokyo Drift way too many times. Surprise, surprise, he's working with the bad guy to infiltrate the clan.
There's a priceless artifact hidden in the castle grounds. The jewel of the sun. Find the jewel and bring it to me. And I'll give you your father's killer.
From here on, we get a lot of long exchanges of generic dialogue, which keeps the film on a conventional path, and Snake Eyes getting into a fight with Warrior Girl, which is hinted by both shaky cam and overbearing lens flares. So let's just recount all the ways this movie insists on fucking up the action. We started with simple shaky cam and bad lighting. Then we had shaky cam and too many characters in the frame. Shaky cam and not even actually depicting the fight, quick cuts, and now shaky cam, quick cuts, and lens flares. Every single action scene in this movie finds an innovative new way to suck while they all collectively shake like a Polaroid picture. Seriously, fuck this movie.
You gonna get that?
A win without honor is no win at all.
An action movie without comprehensible action scenes is a bootable offense! Speaking of which, the clan goes to fight off the Yakuza boss in another ugly fight scene. You'll notice that there is never any blood since the film went for a PG-13 rating, but with everything else about the action sucking so bad, you'll barely notice. This all leads to nothing aside from our heroes realizing that their enemies mean business and they need extra help, so they call in Scarlet, played by Samara Weaving. If you've seen Guns Akimbo or my review of that film, you know that Samara Weaving is a charismatic and badass acting hero, and if you've been paying attention to this film so far, then you'll know that her talents will not be utilized properly. Her scene is more shaky cam, poor angles, crowded frames, and then most of it isn't even shown on screen, opting to have the other characters talk about her skills instead of having the film show it to us.
So what's the deal with Cobra?
The deal is, they're a secret network of terrorist cells, crime syndicates, arms manufacturers, and paramilitary groups linked under a single centralized command. A shadow organization devoted to bringing about global revolution through violence, extortion, and fear.
Ah, just like the anti-vax movement.
I've been keeping tabs on an old friend of mine who just landed in Japan. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Her name's Anna de Cobre, aka Baroness. Since we lost touch, she's been busy.
She killed a member of parliament.
Along with 200 other passengers on the same train, just to influence an election.
She was probably in that riot at the Capitol too. Snake Eyes undergoes his second test, some kind of Luke Skywalker in a Dagobah cave type crap where he undergoes Vietnam flashbacks to his father's death.
I'm sorry, Dad. I couldn't stop him.
Well, yeah, you were a child.
It's not your fault.
Not your fault.
Is he just physically unable to roll any other combination of dice? For the third test, Snake Eyes goes Raiders of the Lost Ark on us and jumps into a snake pit. The catch is that the snakes are about the size of Kanye West's ego and that they never hurt anyone who is pure of heart. Of course, since Snake Eyes is doing the clan dirty, they try and kill him, but Warrior Princess comes to the rescue, with Snake Eyes telling everyone his heart is impure because he seeks vengeance for his father.
I've dedicated my life to finding the man who did it and killing him. This is all I've ever wanted.
Your honesty wins you your life, but not among the Arashikage.
And this is the moment that it clicked. The plot of the film is an outsider sent into a clan to gain their trust with intent to betray them, but becomes conflicted when he finds acceptance. This is Avatar, Pocahontas, The Last Samurai, Dances with Wolves. Jesus Christ, this movie is literally Dances with Snakes, people. Ugh. Also, when I was watching this movie in cinemas, this was the point where I realized that we were only an hour in and still had quite a while to go. There was a huge pit in my stomach that just sank when I realized that.
You're the only brother I've ever known.
Nick minute.
You have AIDS. Yes, you have AIDS. I hate to tell you, boy, that you have AIDS.
After spying on Tommy, Snake Eyes learns the location of the clan's hidden treasure, a magic firestone. So this is a fantasy movie now? I mean, I was willing to accept the giant snakes, but this is really pushing it to a major genre shift. And I don't know if it's actually canon to the G.I. Joe universe. If you do, please tell me in the comments.
I was hoping you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that was my exact reaction when I saw that first action scene in this movie. I really hoped that they wouldn't do that. After another melange of ugly quick cuts, Snake Eyes escapes on a motorcycle and delivers the stone to Bad Guy in return for his father's killer.
Who are you?
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Roll!
Oh gee, I wonder what he's gonna end up rolling.
Snake Eyes.
This is quite a shock. On the other hand, it's not surprising in the least.
Why did you kill him?
Why? 'Cause fuck him, that's why.
Cobra gives an order, you don't question it.
Naturally, this all leads to the obligatory final conflict. And when the fight starts on the motorcycles, you'll notice something. No shaky cam, no quick cuts, no lens flares, no overcrowded frame. Well shot, gently edited action with car chases and sword fighting.
Finally, about damn time.
This is the action scene the trailers marketed so heavily. This is an example of action handled properly with an effective balance between visual effects and practical stunts. So Snake Eyes is actually capable of showing good action scenes. So why the fuck aren't they doing it all the time? Why did it take the entire running time of Superman 4: The Quest for Peace for Snake Eyes to actually start being somewhat good?
I don't know, but it's a bloody good question.
As the fight continues, you'll see a few moments of shaky cam and shots which are a little too close to fully comprehend what's happening, but it's only sporadical. While this is going on, we see the Firestone has turned Bad Guy into Zuko from season 1 of The Last Airbender. So I guess this film now has two types of Avatar in it. And every single flaw from the previous action scenes returned for other segments of the climax, including Samara Weaving, who drops in to shoot a few people in a flurry of poor lighting and bad editing, and Iko Uwais, whose fight is cut short. He comes back later, but only so that we can catch the end of it. Hollywood really needs to stop wasting the talents of Iko Uwais and give him more screen time. Star Wars The Force Awakens made that mistake, and so did Man of Tai Chi, although I would recommend the latter. That was a really good film. When Snake Eyes and Tommy fight, once again the battle becomes shrouded in awful filmmaking, and I can't help but wonder if there were two different units who shot the action in Snake Eyes. The main unit probably shot most of the action with the idiotic director of photography, while the second unit shot the biggest scale stunts from this scene. There is such a jarring stylistical difference between them. One is good and the other is god-awful.
The jewel. The clan is destroyed. We kept our side of the bargain. I trust you'll keep yours.
Maybe I'll just keep it.
No good deed, huh?
Yeah, because there's no way that evil Yakuza boss who betrayed pretty much everyone was going to end up betraying you the moment you gave him the ultimate weapon, right?
Wrong.
The remainder of the action in this scene is just kind of average. It's nowhere near as bad as the worst moments in the film, but it's not as well handled as the highway chase scene. By comparison, however, it's some of the best action in the film, so at this point I figured I'll just accept taking what I can get. There are so many different action scenes going on at once in this scene, and it really should be a whole lot more exciting. But, We also get this one shot of everyone teamed up and walking towards the bad guy to take him on. And I want to replay that, but in slow motion and with a theme song from Armageddon. I couldn't help myself, guys. I've really got a soft spot for Armageddon. Everyone works together to disable Bad Guy.
Get over here!
After knocking the Firestone out of Bad Guy's hands, Tommy uses it against him, but he somehow misses. How do you miss using a magic Firestone to incinerate someone at point-blank range, which is apparently easy enough to understand how to use, that the Yakuza boss did it just like that? Jesus Christ, Tommy. Snake Eyes chases Bad Guy into the woods and snags him with a chain.
Come here!
Snake Eyes drags Bad Guy into the snake pit where he circumcises one of them before they devour him, but as our hero is now pure of heart, he is left to survive, and the Firestone is restored to its safe place.
Our clan swore an oath to never use the jewel, only to protect it. You can never lead the clan.
Sucks to be you.
Remember your vows, Tommy, to forever serve the clan in any capacity.
Serve! I have given my life to this clan. I have sacrificed everything!
Tommy.
It is my blood right!
To its credit, one thing that has been pretty consistent throughout Snake Eyes is the quality of the acting. And during this moment, it's actually really engaging. When Andrew Koji delivers his character's angry monologue about being cast out of what he was due to inherit, it's actually a very powerful moment. And it's really disappointing that so much mediocre filming will likely disappoint audiences so much that it will blunt the impact of this scene for them.
You offered me your life. Next time we meet, I will take it.
And I won't be meeting either of you next time, assuming a sequel is even commissioned, and the film ends with Snake Eyes being offered the chance to join a certain government agency.
So you're saying I could be a Joe?
Anything's possible.
Sure, you could be a Joe, or you could join Globo Gym. They do have a snake icon.
You can turn that Frankenstein you see in the mirror every morning into a Frankenfine.
We all make mistakes.
Oh, that's very true, isn't it, director Robert Schwenke? And the film ends with Tommy joining forces with Cobra.
You've lost an army, Tommy. But I can get you a better one.
Call me Storm Shadow.
The end. Is Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins a good film?
Oh, dear God, no!
Victoria had just come out of its 5th lockdown when me and my boys went to see Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins at cinemas. We were very excited at the opportunity to finally get to see something up on the big screen again. And the fact that we ended up choosing that movie and then going into the 6th lockdown, which is now indefinite, that is a fucking aggravation. All I wanted from this movie was a generic action film with good action sequences, and yet for some reason, the director of photography who made perfectly comprehensible and enjoyable action scenes in films such as The Lone Ranger, Underwater, and 6 Underground decided to shake things up with Snake Eyes. There are things you can disregard and forgive in a film like Snake Eyes. The script is generic, the story is formulaic and full of predictable plot twists, and the characterization is rarely all that amazing. The script does allow some moments for the actors to flesh out their characters more than you might think, but never to any extent that makes a majestic impact. The simple fact is that Snake Eyes is an action movie with horrible action scenes, and there is nothing in the world that can change the fact that as a result, it's just a complete failure. A lot of Hollywood action films will use forced perspective, quick cuts, and shaky cam to disguise the inabilities of the actors to actually do their own stunts, or to hide the stunt doubles. With Snake Eyes, you have an accomplished martial artist in Henry Golding as the lead. You have Indonesian martial arts legend Iko Uwais, who performs some of the greatest fight scenes of all time in the Raid films. And yet you also have a horrendous visual style which completely butchers their efforts. To film action scenes like that at all is horrendous, but to do it with people who are completely capable and willing, you're insulting them more than you're insulting the audience. In this year alone, I have seen multiple movies at the cinemas which have butchered their action scenes for no conceivable reason, and I've paid for it every time. And I'm fucking done. In 2021 alone, I've had to sit through Willy's Wonderland, which had awful action scenes thanks to terrible shaky cam and bad angles, Mortal Kombat, which also had the bad angles but swapped bad shaky cam for excessive jump cuts, and then Monster Hunter, which had elements of both, even though it did have a few exciting action scenes that were well done. But honestly, it was really difficult to put into words the sheer disgust I felt after watching this movie and knowing that I gave money to the fucking Hollywood system that keeps on pumping out these awful action movies. I was left feeling awful all day after this movie, although I did later watch National Treasure 2, and that actually cheered me up. Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins has now found itself on my list of worst directed action movies of all time. It's up there with Taken 2, Taken 3, Rambo Last Blood, A Good Day to Die Hard, and Mortal Kombat, among many others. I was tempted to put Willy's Wonderland up there, but as that was just a horror comedy with terribly directed action scenes, I can't in good faith call that an action movie. Admittedly, Hollywood does give us good action movies once in a while. The John Wick trilogy is amazing, and Nobody, that was fucking exciting as hell. But those are movies being handled on a much smaller scale. When you handle them on a much bigger scale with more studio interference and budgetary issues, you get shit like this. All you needed for this film was good action scenes because nobody came here for the script or any kind of groundbreaking performances, they came for the action, and they're likely to leave dizzy and unhappy after watching this. As a matter of fact, the pizza man I was watching this film with, he got a major headache watching this movie. At first he couldn't tell if it was the MD he had taken the night before, but later down the track he realised, no, the action scenes did that to him. But, funnily enough, for a movie which cost between $88 million and $110 million, the worldwide box office gross for Snake Eyes has ended up being a paltry $37 million.
37?
I don't like to celebrate failure, but in this case, Hollywood can suck it.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Once we get over the film's fatal flaw, there isn't actually much to talk about. Snake Eyes begins as a routine action film which cuts rapidly through time periods as it jumps from one narrative convention to another before slowing down to copy the Dances with Wolves narrative. The quantity of action is spread out well over the narrative, but the quality of it is not appealing. And after all that, it concludes with a very tenuous connection of the G.I. Joe franchise, obviously attempting to set up a cinematic universe. And the characterization isn't great, and neither is the dialogue, but at least it's not aggressively bad. What little I have to objectively compliment about this film comes down to the cast. Henry Golding makes a decent leading man. He plays a character you've seen 100 times before with a script that doesn't care about his actual characterization and a director who is too busy ruining the action to help him out. But the actor has a natural likability to him, and despite the filmmaker's attempts to hinder it, he is a certifiably accomplished martial artist. It'll be nice to see him in future roles when he's working with people who know how to handle the action. Of course, the standout is easily Andrew Koji. Tomoyoshi Kage is the most interesting character in the film. He is a devoted warrior who is challenged by the honor that binds his leadership and the betrayal by his own blood brother. Koji maintains an intense mysticism in the character and a line delivery which balances gentleness with intensity. As the story develops, he lets his emotions out more and more before unleashing everything in his climactic monologue. His final speech is the finest moment in the film, an unexpectedly poignant moment of unflinching emotional drama where lifelong dedication to a cause is brought to a resounding halt by betrayal. Koji lets all his fury loose in this scene while remaining attentive to his line delivery, and the result is a moment which is both intimidating and sympathetic. While Snake Eyes didn't get the best origin story in the film, Storm Shadows is a surprisingly sympathetic look at the character and arguably the film's sole redeeming factor. Andrew Koji's performance in Snake Eyes actually leaves me wanting to see more of him in the future. He's paired up to play a leading role with Brad Pitt in the film Bullet Train, which I'm happy to see because of him, and now I actually want to watch him in the show Warrior. So there you go. As for the rest of the cast, everyone else plays generic archetypes to mixed results, and as much as it's always a pleasure to see Samara Weaving and Iko Uwais on screen, their talents are wasted in glorified cameos. Snake Eyes gets one awfully humiliating disappointment about 2021 out of 10. Sure, Andrew Koji's performance is a redeeming factor, but the movie as a whole is a testament to the absolute worst action cinema that Hollywood has to offer. And it is easily the worst movie I've seen at cinemas all year. Granted, that has only been a handful, but still. And that does it for today's episode of Delightfully Devillish, you guys. If you want to see more episodes of this show, please hit that subscribe button. If there are any movies you want to see me discuss on this show, please leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, until next time, I have been your host, Jukebox Harry. Peace!